Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's edition of Horse's Mouth Live. I'm Ellen Rogin, and as always, I have information to help you in every area of your life, especially your business. And today, we're going to have a really interesting conversation with our incredible, brilliant expert, Teresa Easler, about how to connect with clients over this digital world that we're operating in now. I know it's important to connect. It's always great to learn new skills to do that. And how do we do this in this new way of communicating when we're not sitting across the table from people? So before I let Teresa share her brilliance, I just want to give you a little bit about her background. Many of you probably know Teresa because she's done a huge amount of work with advisors, and now she works with all sorts of companies and entrepreneurs in her business Connect from the Core. And Teresa has a deep, deep background as a communications coach and a business strategist. She's worked with thousands of individuals and hundreds of companies across North America, maybe globally. I don't actually know. She's shaking her head. Yes, globally as well. And ever since she's been little, she's been passionate about communication and about having people help connect in their communication. Um, and one of the things I just wanted to read from her bio is that Teresa truly believes that at the core is of all success is great communication. And at the core of all great communication is connection. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So welcome, Teresa. I'm so thrilled to have you here.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here too. I'm really looking forward to this.
One of the things I didn't mention in your bio that I think is incredibly important is you're also a presentation coach, and that's how we originally met years
Yeah,
ago. We had
long
kind of
time
lost
ago.
contact a long time ago and reconnected, which I was so thrilled about. So your depth of experience is so broad, and I think more important now than ever. So
Yeah.
how can people, now that we're in this digital communication way, whether it's over Zoom or some other platform, what are some of the things for advisors to be thinking about when they're connecting with clients?
Well, the first thing, there are a couple of things that are really important about that. One is that their clients want them to connect with them. So there is this deep desire on individuals' parts to have connection with others, and particularly with people that they view who could potentially solve problems for them. So that's one thing. The other thing for advisors, and this is true in any kind of communication, this is not just with their clients, this is with their team members, this is with their strategic alliances, this is with everybody they do business with and in their personal life. The first rule for everything and connecting is you have to be yourself. You have to be authentic. And that's easier said than done for a lot, for all of us.
Yeah. So do you see that because this communication method is different and people are seeing themselves on video, that they're less authentic or less themselves because they feel like, I don't know, they're performing or they're self-conscious because many people aren't used to seeing themselves on video?
Yeah, exactly. Something happens to us when there's a camera. It's like all of a sudden it's invasion of the body snatchers and somebody takes over for us and we're not there anymore. It's hard. It's immediately, as soon as the light goes on with the camera, we immediately get nervous. And that's with everybody. I don't care who it is. I mean, you're on camera all the time. I'm on camera all the time. And I still, as soon as that camera light comes on, it's like, okay, remember, be yourself, be yourself, be yourself. So it's tougher. It's harder. We forget.
So what are some tips for people to use to start to feel more comfortable, to come across and feel more authentic in their communication when it is through video?
Well, I really appreciate one of the recent articles that you wrote was about breathing, and that is such an important tip. Before you are going to be communicating, whatever the digital medium you're going to be using, first thing is breathe. Breathing is good. This is one of my mantras. Breathing is good. Breathing is good. So take a deep breath. Allow yourself to be oxygenated. Your brain doesn't function when it is not oxygenated well. And when you're nervous, naturally the first thing we do is we start breathing way, way up here in our chest instead of down and using our lungs. So that's a really quick thing. You probably were told by your mother, take a deep breath and count to 10. You know what? Good advice. Do that. So that piece of it is really important. And the other part of it is to remember it is not about you. It's really not. Even if you're the one who's on camera, even if you're the one who's speaking, even if you're the one presenting, it's still not about you. It's about the other person. So if you can take the attention away from yourself and put it back on the people you're communicating with, then it's going to allow you to not be so self-conscious. Take a deep breath, put your attention on other people. It'll be a lot easier.
So as you were saying that about breathing, I noticed I wasn't. So maybe we could all just take a breath now, like a long, slow inhale, maybe through your nose, and a long, slow exhale. And one of the things that I know and many of the people watching this know, is that not only, as you mentioned, does breathing oxygenate your brain so it helps you think better, but it tells your nervous system that everything's okay. Yeah. Because your nervous system knows if there's a long, slow exhale, that you must be safe. And it actually lowers your heart rate. On your exhale, your heartbeat slows down. So what a great reminder. And I certainly wouldn't have thought of this in a communication with just a client versus giving a bigger presentation. And when you were mentioning put the attention on them, I probably learned this from you those years ago in the presentation training, because I know if I start to get nervous before a talk, I think about the most nervous I ever was right before I did my TEDx talk, and I was freaking out. And my husband said to me, my God, Ellen, you speak all the time. Like, why are you so nervous? And I realized that all my attention was on me, like it's on video and there's a live audience and they were live streaming it, instead of on the message I wanted to deliver, putting my attention out there. So I'm so grateful for this advice that even one-on-one, that when I can put my attention on the other person, not only will I feel calmer, but I imagine they're going to feel more heard and paid attention to. Is that right? Am I on the right track, Teresa?
Yeah, absolutely. And they're going to mirror you. They're going to mirror. If you're anxious, they will feel anxious. They're going to mirror how you're being with them. And so the calmer and the more confident and centered that you are when you're communicating, the better it's going to come off. And I know using whatever these digital mediums are, it is challenging. It is challenging for us as communicators because we rely so much on all of our senses, and we don't have them all. We don't get to use them all. We don't get to read all of the body language. We don't get to read the energy in the room. We don't get to read so many of the little nuances that happen instantaneously. We take those in, we translate them, we understand them, and we then adapt based upon what we see. We don't have all of that available to us when we're in this kind of a medium. It's just not there. So we're reliant a bit on audio. We have audio, but not to the same degree, and we have visual. So we have a lot. We have to do more work to be in that kind of a connection with other people. So that's why our being grounded, being really confident, feeling really centered, and knowing what it is that we're going to say in a way that's meaningful to others, not just I've got a message to convey, but what's meaningful to others, is going to allow and enable a greater connection. It's going to enable much better results because of that connection.
So talk a little bit more about that, like what we're going to say is going to be impactful to the other person.
Right. So one of the mistakes that communicators, and this is absolutely true with people in the financial services industries, is we are really, really good at knowing our stuff about our products and our services. We are experts. We know, and we try to differentiate ourselves based upon our expertise in whatever those products and services are. The only problem with that is none of our customers, none of our clients really care two whits about our products and our services. They have been trying their whole lives to avoid having any conversations about those products or services. So that we're experts in that is a disconnect with the people that we're speaking to. And the unfortunate thing is it forces us into a field of commodity where the only thing people are interested in is price. So we get ourselves in heavy competition. We get ourselves in a non-differentiated field when we become and are focused on being product or service experts. So if we want to elevate this, the next step, and this is what big consulting firms do, and probably a lot of really high-end advisors do this also. I mean, they may not realize this is what they're doing. But we become solution experts. And so we are a solution in search of a problem. So we're really good at a particular solution. And it's still, there's a lot of commoditization still in there, but a lesser extent. It's a more sophisticated expertise. The place where you break through all of this and where it really speaks to whoever it is that you are interested in motivating or trying to influence to take action are when you become a problem expert. You know who you're speaking to so well and the problems and the challenges that they're experiencing that you may know it better than they know. And when you speak to those problems, and then you bring your solution, and then you bring your products and services in, you are actually meeting your clients or your prospects where they are. They have problems they want solved. The only reason they have these problems is they haven't figured out how to solve them yet, and they haven't found anybody else who could do it. So if you can step in and you can explain, here's the problem, here's how you solve it, and these are the tools, which is what your products are. These are the tools on how I'm going to solve it. You no longer have any competition.
So when you talk about the problem, is it their individual problem? Like, here's the problem. You've got a child who really is going to need care throughout the rest of their life. And or is it, so it's like at that level, or is it the problem of, I really feel or hear how you're so scared about how you're going to not make your kid dependent on you for the rest of your life? I mean, is it a psychological fear they have, or is it at a top level issue?
All of those
what are
things.
some ways? Yeah.
All of those things. Oh, in order to do that, it requires some tough decisions on the part of an advisor. And one of those decisions is, who is it that they are going to work with? So they have to get focused. And that means, and this is the hardest part. I mean, you're an entrepreneur, I'm an entrepreneur. The hardest part is for us to say no, right? To say no, this is outside of my wheelhouse. This is not the place where I bring the best of my talents and my resources, my capabilities to solve these kinds of problems. So that means I'm saying no to everything outside of that. And that's hard. You know, I'm not dismissing how tough that is. And when you're able to do that, when you're able to focus in that way, these are the kinds of situations that I can solve. So I know how to do this. I know I've got this. when you've got that level of confidence of like, if this is what you're facing, if these are the challenges that you've got, and the challenges can be is like, I'm 55 years old. I'm trying to figure out when I'm going to be able to retire, if I can retire, and what's that going to look like, and are there any decisions like if those are the problems that you're solving, those are the problems you're solving. So it doesn't have to be I've got a disabled child and how do I best provide for them. It doesn't have to be a big problem like that. It can be, I'm at this age and I'm trying to figure out what's next and how do I do this. But you focus on it not from, what, we've got all of the, we do. Here's a great test for any of the advisors who are still using brochures or even on their websites, looking at any of those things. How long do we have to read before we get to anything about their clients? And how far what do we have to read through that's all about them? And my guess is that probably we have to read 80% of stuff all about them before we get to anything that would be about the client or the prospect. And my suggestion is you reverse the order.
Ahead. Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of how we started this part about putting the attention on the other person talking.
Yeah.
And so it's not just in one-on-one conversations that my attention is out there and not on me, but it's in the way I'm talking about things, like what are their problems, so that they really feel heard and that you get them. That
Yes.
Then the other stuff, what I'm hearing you say, and it makes sense to me, kind of doesn't matter. The other thing I heard you say, and I'm remembering back to when I was working with clients, the people I didn't work well with, and it took me many years to be able to articulate this and realize I was just not good at this, is people that had big debt issues. And there was people that came into my office that had lots of money, but they were big overspenders. And I would go, well, they can afford my fee and I'm sure I can help them. I'm better at being an advisor now. And the bottom line was those relationships never worked. That was not what I was good at. And it took me, it wasn't just a year, it wasn't just a few years, it was a lot of years before I would say, this is not, I am not the right person for you. And I found resources for them. And
it's so funny you say that. It's so funny you say that because there's an advisor that I work with who they specialize with people with high debt. So they work with doctors coming out of medical school who traditionally have huge amounts of debt, and this is like their sweet spot. They love solving that problem for them and getting them to the other side of it. But for somebody else, it's like, yeah, that's not the problem I want to solve.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that discussion. I just want to circle back to something we were talking about earlier, Teresa, when you were saying, you're putting your attention on the other person. One of the things that I get challenged with Zoom is I know I'm supposed to look into the camera, but I'm so used to looking in someone's eye when I'm talking with them. And so I want to look like down to the side, or whichever side of the screen they're on. And I don't know if you have any suggestions for this or tricks or tools so that people feel like you're talking right to them, but then you're also able to watch what they're really saying and see some of their facial expressions the best that we can on video.
You're absolutely right. I run into the same experience myself because I'm so used to looking at people and looking them in the eye and have to constantly remind myself, look in the camera, look in the camera, look in the camera. And I think that that's the most important tip that I can give. Don't make yourself crazy for the times when you don't do it, because we beat ourselves up when we make mistakes. Don't do that. That's not useful. And when you notice that you are doing something that you would rather you weren't doing, or not doing something that you would prefer that you were doing, put the correction in. That's all there is. That's all there is about being a great communicator, being a great business person. To me, it's like this is another one of my mantras. Life is nothing but constant course correction. When you make a mistake, observe it without judgment. Go, oh, I need to fix that, and then fix it. And then when something goes off track again, fix that one too, and just do it over and over and over and over and over again, and you'll be fine. But
I
the big
love
thing,
that. So
don't beat yourself up. Just make the corrections in the moment when you notice you're off.
a big dose of self-compassion, right?
Yeah, a whole lot of that. We need that as communicators. We're not very nice to ourselves.
Okay, so now I'm switching back to when you were talking about people's websites. Do you have any examples or a suggestion of a switch from, we're the trusted advisor, I'm a CPA, CFP, EIEIO, or whatever people put on their front of their website, to a message that's more client focused or client problems focused?
Right. So I would start with, for the example, let's just have an example of a family that has a disabled family member. I would start with just stating, we guide you to having security and a full expressed life for you and your disabled loved ones, and we create the plans and the path on how you can have that so that you can feel secure in living your life fully. So it's start there instead of I'm a CFP, I'm a CLU, I'm a, whatever other letters you want to put behind your name. Instead of there, we don't care. As a client, we don't care about that yet. We care about ourselves. We're the center of the universe, and we're looking for someone to help us. So, and that's normal human beings. We all are at the center of our own universes. We just are. So not good, not bad. That's just how we operate. But if I'm an advisor and my desire is to influence or persuade someone to take action, as in hiring me, having me become their trusted advisor, then I have to jump into their universe. I can't stay over here in mine. I can't have me at the center of the universe. So I have to go over and speak to them about the things that are most important to them. And after I've established that, then of course I can say, oh, by the way, I know what I'm doing. I've done this for 20 years. I have these kinds of credentials. You're not my guinea pig. I'm not testing this all out on you. I've got a whole line of people that I've worked with before who could speak positively on my behalf. But when we start about ourselves, the clients or the prospects are going, okay, when are we going to get to the good stuff? Me.
Mm-hmm.
So start
And
with
that. Yeah. And when you started this discussion saying it's not about your products, it's not about your services, what you're saying makes so much sense. And it's not how people typically talk about things in the industry. It's
No.
not where, if you think about the product sponsors coming in to educate you on their product, or when you go to broker dealer conferences and there's a lot of talk about different strategies, it's how a lot of the education is focused. And I'm so clear that what you're saying makes the most sense to make people feel comfortable and secure in their decision to hire you as an advisor.
The gravitational pull is very strong for us to talk about ourselves. It's very strong. And I'm working with one of the broker dealers right now for their annual meeting, and with a whole group of their speakers who are going to be providing technical CE credit. And boy, it's like over and over and over again, hammering this home. And I can coach them and say, okay, start with why is this important to them? Why do they even want to know about this particular topic? You're going to go into excruciating detail about why do they want to know about this. And they'll go, okay, I really got it. And then this first thing out of the gate is all of the other stuff. I'm going, nope, that's not where we're going to start. The good stuff, we're going to use it. It's all part of it. It comes later. We've got to start over here working with why is this important to them. We've got to establish that. We've got to create that connection, engagement with them, that it's about them. And then everything, all of these techniques that you're sharing, all of these strategies, all of these things, all have to be within the context of what difference is this going to do for you as an advisor and for your clients. What difference does that make? Over and over and over again, you have to ask that question, because just giving us the information, there's no connection with information.
That makes so much sense. Teresa, now when I've been talking with advisors and they're saying not only is it a different kind of communication with their clients, but now their team meetings are happening in a different way, either over Zoom or sometimes still over the phone. Do you have suggestions for how to work with your team in times like this to continue to make connection and have great communications?
Yeah, it's the same challenges, and with our teams, I would say as a leader of your team, the first thing that you have to really clarify, and because you're not there and you're not filling in the gaps here, you have to really be intentional about this, is your vision. They have to know where you are, where you're going, how you're feeling about things. They have to be reassured, because remember, they don't have the connection either. They're missing it. And they need that. And so you actually being able to be the important leaders, like, here's where we're heading. Here's the role that's important for you to play in this. Let me give you some very specific guidance on what I'm asking of you. So your communication with your team, you have to really up your game with these kinds of circumstances. They need more from you. They need more direction. They mostly need more leadership right now.
That point of reassuring them, I think, is so important. When I was through the recessions I was in when I had my practice and my team, it never occurred to me till I kind of woke up and really listened that they would be scared. Because I'm like, we're
Ah,
there for our clients. This is what we're going to do. But personally, they were scared about their own situations, about their own personal finances, about job security. So I think that's a point that really needs to be emphasized, that you're not just there as a frontline responder for your clients' money, but also there as the reassurer for your team as well.
yep. Transparency, I find transparency is the most important thing you can have with your team members. Like, again, back to be authentic with them. Let them know what's going on with you. And give them an opportunity to step up and let them know what you see for the vision. Where are you right now? If it's an all hands on deck sort of thing, how that support is needed there. If it's like, man, you know what? Look, we're not wasting this crisis. Here's where the opportunities are. Let's go for it. Whatever that is, being very clear about that with your team members and be very specific about what your expectations are. And I would say that's a big challenge for many advisors, because they may not know themselves. They have a feeling about it, but they haven't really thought it through, and they haven't communicated it clearly with their team.
So, in the last little minute that we have left here, Teresa, on that point of being authentic, because as we were talking about this, I could see an advisor feeling like he or she has to be the leader, and I'm positive and I'm excited about this, and there are these opportunities. And the truth is, they might not always be feeling that. So what's the balance with being authentic? Like, hey, I'm scared too, and this is what we're going to do, or is that not something you'd want to share? Like, how do you be authentic and still be a leader? It's kind of a really big question for the last minute. But if you have any tips on that, that would be great.
Well, I think being authentic is the number one thing, and there's a difference between expressing your emotions and your emotions owning you. So it's not, you collapsing and falling apart and not, not coming back to the strength that you have as a leader doesn't work. That's you collapsing into your emotions. And if you're scared, saying, you know what, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going to happen next. I'm worried about it. Here's what I'm going to do about it for myself and for all of us. So you can experience. Honestly, I've just been in tears with my team sometimes when I've had to share bad news. And even certainly at the beginning of this pandemic, I was in tears. It's like, listen, guys, one thing I can promise you is we're in this together, and I have no idea what's going to take place. And so it was like I would have loved to have been able to not get choked up, but I love my team. They're important to me. They've worked with me for years. So for me to go, okay, guys, let's go for it. We're good, and me rally the team when that was not true at the time would have been inauthentic, and they wouldn't have bought it for a second. they would have called BS on me on that one. So our teams know when we're being true. Our teams know. They know us. And if you've got a good trusting relationship with them, you can be transparent and they'll understand. And you're the leader. Your job is to provide the direction. Your job is to make sure that they've got somebody to follow. And so you gotta pull your socks up. You can experience your emotions. You do have to pull your socks up and provide the direction and be very clear in the direction that you're going in, even if you don't feel as clear as you.
Yeah, that's great. And it's great advice for communicating with clients as well. So Teresa,
Yeah.
there is so much that we could be talking about. I know you have a wealth of information. If people want to connect with you, I know there's some special gifts that you have for the viewers today, but where is the best place if they just want to learn more about your consulting or your training or some of the speaking that you do? Where's the best place for them to go?
Best thing is to go to our website, connecttothecore.com. And if they would like to reach me, Teresa.Easler at Connect to the Core. And I post all the time. I post almost daily on Instagram and on Facebook. So there are lots of tips and tidbits and things that they can find on there. And then we do have a do's and don'ts list on how to be a great communicator on Zoom. So a few things that they haven't thought about that is not in the technical realm. It's really about you as a communicator to be really great on the digital medium with those things.
Yeah, go ahead. That link's on the bottom of your screen, and go ahead and get that offer from Teresa as soon as that came through on her newsletter. Get on her newsletter list too. I've been on it for years. And so when we hadn't talked in many years, but I felt like I was talking to Teresa all the time because she sends out fabulous newsletters. So go ahead and do that.
That's how we stayed in touch with each other through both of our newsletters.
Yeah. So, and I'm thrilled. This is fabulous information. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your wisdom with us, Teresa.
Thank you. My pleasure. It has been delightful.
And for all of you watching in or listening in, whether it's live or on the replay, thank you for being here. I'm so grateful. If you want to find out more information about me, you can find that at ellenrogin.com. And if you go to ellenrogin.com/horse's mouth, there's a special complimentary report that I have for you there on what clients crave. And there's all sorts of other good resources there for you. And if you like this kind of conversation, we're going to be sharing more information soon with you about a new course we're launching on Horse's Mouth called The Extraordinary Advisor. And we have a webinar coming up, a free webinar on finding your superpower. So watch your email boxes for that as well. You can always reach me at ellen@ellenrogin.com if you have questions or you want to connect or you have suggestions for us. Again, I'm so grateful that you're here. And as always, the question I leave you with is, how big of a positive impact are you willing to make? Remember to be great and